name's David. I went on a cruise recently. Took my kids. Well, that probably goes without saying. It's not like my girlfriend and I just disappeared for a week and didn't tell anyone where we're going. And my wife would be really upset if I did that. Yeah, so I took a Carnival cruise. So I told Jim at work, I'm taking the family on a cruise. And he said, "Oh, are you taking a Disney cruise?" And I said, "No, Carnival." And he got a concerned look on his face, and he said, "Oh, I thought you cared about your family." So as I soon came to learn, Carnival has a bit of a bad reputation as a cheap booze cruise. If you think of, let's say, a Disney cruise, for example, as the Four Seasons, a Royal Caribbean cruise is like a Hilton, a Carnival cruise is kind of like a blue tarp over a shopping cart in a park downtown. It's basically a flop house, is what I'm saying. Think of a Walmart, but at sea and with even more drunk people. But I'm not kidding though, we had a great time. The cruise was fantastic. It turns out the worst thing about going on a Carnival cruise is telling people you're going on a Carnival cruise. We went during March break, lots of kids on the ship, lots of teenagers, and I'm telling you, some parents are just terrible. There were teens roaming around, causing trouble, making a mess, swearing, and those were just my kids. Yeah, that's right. I took my 2 teenage kids on this cruise. They got to live a life of luxury for a week. Got to visit exotic locations like the Burger King bathroom in Nassau. And all I heard were complaints that I didn't pay extra for the Wi-Fi on the ship. Honestly, I think I could have just locked them in the basement at home for the week with their phones and thrown a few bags of Cheetos down there. They would have been happier. But we did eat well. Lots of food on the ship, and it was fantastic. And my son, he eats like he's anticipating a famine. So one day, late in the afternoon, he goes to one of the restaurants on the ship and he orders a pizza and 2 sandwiches. And I told him, we're going for dinner in a couple hours, and he just grunted and kept eating. So you might be thinking, oh, your son must be a fat kid, but actually he's not. He's actually very slim. In fact, he's slimmer than the chances that he's going to move out of my house at any time in the near future. So my career's going great. You're looking at the March 2024 Wendy's Employee of the Month. I'm kidding, I wasn't Employee of the Month. Todd's got his nose so far up the manager's butt he can smell fresh air. Well, I am an accountant. Calm down, ladies, I'm married. My wife likes to say I'm a freak in the spreadsheets. I guess you could say I excel. Word. So I'm what you might call an extroverted accountant. So that simply means that if we met in person, I would stare at your shoes instead of staring at my own. Now, I work a hybrid model, so that means I go to the office a few days a week and work remotely the rest of the time. When I started doing this hybrid thing, when I was working remotely, I used to do this subversive thing where I wouldn't wear any pants. But I had to stop that because the manager at Starbucks got upset at me. So people are always coming up and asking me, "David, how do I become an accountant?" Not kidding, nobody ever asked me that. But I'm going to tell you, to be an accountant, it takes hard work, discipline, and a lack of imagination to think of a more interesting career. So you might be asking, why do I do it? Well, it's because I like the little luxuries in life, like food, shelter, and maybe even an occasional Carnival cruise for my family. So, like I mentioned, I'm married. I've been married for 20 years. Thank you. Love my wife, but she's got OCD. Now, it's not like formally medically diagnosed OCD, but according to I did my research on TikTok, she's got a blazing case of OCD. For example, she'll get upset about the most insignificant things, like you put the dishes in the wrong place, you put the groceries in the wrong order, you forgot to pick me up at the airport. And it's not like She's even got the the good kind of OCD where our house is always neat and tidy. No, her OCD only manifests itself in complaints about the way I do things. I'm starting to think that even though I don't have OCD personally, I might be a carrier. So when my son was born, my wife wanted to buy a minivan, but I just did not like that idea at all. I thought minivans are lame, only losers drive minivans. So I've been driving a minivan for the last 16 years. But I love it. It's comfortable. It's like my own personal Batmobile. If Batman traded coolness for soccer mom vibes. And it's also, it's invisible to the police, to the point where I'm kind of worried they might run into me someday. Now, one thing I've noticed is that there's a big difference between a minivan and a full-size van. So for example, nobody would bat an eye about someone driving around their neighborhood in a minivan. But a guy driving around in a full-size van is going to get Karen pounding the alarm on Facebook. And speaking of Facebook, I recently joined my neighborhood Facebook group, and I'll tell you, there are some vile, hatred comments on there. And those are just my comments. So that's my time. Thank you, everyone.
What you're hearing, I've been coming around before the show to show you the postcard.